Welcome. Happy Friday. Welcome to the 33rd meeting of the year. I'm really happy to see each of y'all. If you'll rise, Past President John GLANCY is going to lead us in the invocation and pledge and national anthem.
I'm not aware of any member concerns that we ought to be talking about before the invocation. Does anybody have anything they'd like to raise? Okay. If not, let us pray. Dear God, we ask you to guide and bless our meeting today. Thank you for Rotary and what it stands for ethics, for helping others in our community and around the world, and for good fellowship and fun. As our news is filled with reports of war, we pray for peace. Peace and comfort for the Ukrainian people and for all victims of war and violence. We want to help these hurting people, but the most visible seems so distant. Help us to find ways to send aid to those far away, and help us to see and respond to those right around us who are hurting and in need. In this meeting and in all that we do in the coming days, help us to live in accord with our Rotary values, following the four-way test and living a life of service above self. We ask you to bless us as we bring blessings to others. Amen. Now, if you would join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by our national anthem. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now I hope we got some music going. I'm nothing to say. When you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Thank you, John. We are delighted to have a number of guests today. If you brought a guest, if you and your guest will please stand, we'll make sure that everyone is introduced.
Okay.
Thank you. I'd like to introduce Curt Vandermont. He is a very dear friend, but more importantly, he is considered by Forbes as the #1 executive recruiter in Texas and number 10 in Dallas, and I am really glad to have him here.
Wow.
Say
welcome.
hello.
We're so glad you're here.
Thank you. I would like to introduce Reed Thompson. Like myself, Reed is a graduate of SMU, also a graduate of Hillcrest High School, so a local guy. He's a banker between positions right now, but looking for a place to socialize and get involved in the community. So welcome, Reed.
Fabulous. Welcome.
Hello, I have two guests today. This is Robin Lynn from University Park Life. So Robin, wave hello.
Hi, Robin.
And this is Mick Messier from Keller Williams Realtor. John Powell, one of our new members, recommended Mick coming down here. So give them both a warm welcome.
Fabulous. Welcome, Robin and Mick.
I'm not sure this gentleman needs an introduction because he's just about a member, but I'm going to introduce him anyway. This is Paul Hoffman. He's joining our club. He's the executive director at the Agape Clinic, and we're just thrilled to have him join the club.
Welcome, Paul. Great to see you back, Karen.
I think that's it.
Today's PCR Marketplace advertiser is Kyle Marmillion, and Nolan Duck is highlighting him. Come on up, Mr. Nolan.
Thank you, President Happy, and I'm so glad to have a mouthful of salad to start with. Today's Marketplace advertiser is Carl Marmillion. Carl, are you here? Kyle, where am I? Kyle. It was the lettuce that threw me off. Kyle Marmillion, thank you. In a time when we're faced with unprecedented changes, Rotarians have had to embrace the abnormal and deliver messages of strength, vulnerability, and resilience. Like the Rotary Club of Park Cities, our drive to make a positive impact in the community, Marsh McClendon Agency is driven by a passion to be there for their clients, colleagues, and communities in moments that matter. As a matter of fact, Kyle was there for me when I needed him to help with a problem that I was facing with one of my clients, and he stepped in and did a great job doing just that. Kyle works closely with business owners in North Texas, in the North Texas business community to deliver comprehensive programs and solutions that meet their business insurance and employee health and benefit needs. Kyle's company, Marsh McClendon Agency, combines the personalized service model of a local consultant with the global resources of the world's leading professional services firm. For more information, please reach out directly to Kyle Marmillion and have a discussion about how Marsh McClendon Agency can be a valuable partner to you in your business. So let's give Kyle and his company a round of applause for their support.
Mr. Greg Pape has a presentation for us today on the Rotary Foundation.
Thank you, President Happy. I'd like to ask Bobby Quick to come up to the podium, and Chris Clausen, Tracy Gomes. I don't see Lynn Searles with us today, but we've got three wonderful Rotarians. I know that Van Oliver sort of concentrated on donations last Friday where we can help the Ukrainians, but I want to add a few notes to that, very Rotary specific, that according to the United Nations now, more than 2 million people, mostly women and children, have sought refuge in neighboring countries across Europe, and about 1 million people have been displaced within Ukraine. Rotary and Rotaract clubs in Europe and around the world are working with members nearby to provide food and water, medical equipment, and shelter for those refugees. Did you know that Ukraine has 62 Rotary clubs, 6 satellite clubs with about 1,100 members, and 24 Rotaract clubs with more than 300 members? The Ukraine Rotary Club, their district, formed a committee to help people affected by the crisis and has launched an appeal to Rotary members worldwide for funds to provide basic necessities. Poland has taken in more than 1 million refugees, and Rotary clubs all over the country created a central account for contributions. Rotaract Europe, through Rotaract clubs, these are young people ages 18 and older that develop leadership and professional skills, exchange ideas with community leaders, all within the auspices of Rotary International. Rotaract was founded in '68. It has more than 7,500 Rotary-sponsored Rotaract clubs in over 150 countries, 173,000 members. That's pretty doggone good, isn't it, John? The European Rotaract Information Center, and this is the backbone of where Rotary is providing some very significant support, is a multi-district information organization that serves Rotaractors all over Europe. It created a United for Peace site that compiles information for refugees and volunteers. The site offers information about free rail, bus, and air transportation available for refugees and lists details about what's needed and how to help specific national borders. Pretty awesome. Rotaractors within Rotary, helping those in this Ukrainian crisis. Today we got 3 individuals. We have Bobby Quick, who, although you've joined our club within the last year, right? You're no stranger to Rotary, and you've been accumulating your Paul Harris Fellow levels, and so now it's a distinct pleasure for us to update your Rotary International Foundation pin with 2 sapphires plus the fin, your 3rd level Rotary Foundation. Thank you so much. And Chris Clausen, we don't always get to see you. I know you're in a high-stress business, having to be there for people all the time, and you're called on duty all the time. But you have now a 5-level Rotary Foundation pin. Congratulations. And Tracy, past president of Rotary Park Cities, you now have a Paul Harris pin with 3 rubies, indicating a contribution just within a freckle of 10,000. And your next level, of course, is major donor. We have 14 in the club, and we are honored to have you here today to receive your Paul Harris 9th level contribution.
You know the drill. Thanks.
Thanks, Lee. Thank you, Happy.
Thank y'all, great work. And now we have Happy Bucks. If you have some happy news that you want to share, and whatever dollar denomination you feel comfortable with, $2, $1, $5, $10, $100, we'll accept it. So I have happy news. I'm really happy that we have so many fabulous guests today. Holly has some happy news.
Hopefully it's happy. You're stuck with me. I'm staying in Dallas. I accepted the Spotlight Business a job offer from Marsh McClellan and McLennan, excuse me. I guess I better get that straight. I'm director of claims there, so I will be here in Dallas. And my other fantastic news is I am in love. I'm in a committed relationship now, and it's all coming together. So thanks so much.
Awesome. Congratulations, Holly.
Don't forget that part. Anybody else?
Miss Susan Glenn, if you'll come on up, I'd like to introduce you as a new member. Welcome, Susan. So Susan is a longtime Rotarian. She transferred to our club from the Fort Worth Rotary Club, one of the biggest clubs in Texas. And she lives in Plano, and so our club is a lot more convenient for her. I'm very thrilled that she is here. She did a lot of research to decide which club to join, so I'm really thrilled that she decided on our club. Look forward to everybody getting to know her. Welcome, Susan.
Thank you so much. Can I say something real quick?
Sure.
Thank you, President Happy. I guess we got to get a picture here first.
Yeah, I got one, but I want to get an even better one. There
Okay,
you go.
thank you. It's such an honor to be here, and President Happy is right. I did a lot of research. In fact, I visited several clubs, and they're all fabulous. I mean, I haven't been to a Rotary club that wasn't fabulous, but you have just a special thing that drew me here, and I can't wait to get involved in the first community project at the North Texas Food Bank. I'm already signed up for that on April 2nd, and I look forward to getting to know all of you. And I want to say a quick little thing, too. the president of the YMCA Metropolitan Dallas, because you are a client of ours, of my company. And we work with Suzanne Gossick, your Chief Human Resource Officer, also Mike Brown, the CEO in Fort Worth. So we love the YMCA. You're fabulous. So, thank you.
Thank you, Susan. So, Susan, in your packet, there is a red badge checklist to go from a new member to a permanent, to get your permanent badge. And one of those tasks says to do a new member speech. And Herb Hammond is coming up today to do his new member speech. Let's welcome Herb.
Well, thank you, President Happy. I grew up in a small town in southern New Mexico in the 1960s. My father was a high school biology and chemistry teacher. My mother was a second grade teacher. And we only had two sports back then, football and baseball. And I was always the littlest kid in my class, so I didn't go out for football. And I tried out every year for Little League, but I never made a Little League team. So the only options for me in that little town were juvenile delinquency or scouting. My dad was an Eagle Scout, and he made sure I got channeled into scouting. And like Van Oliver, who recounted his scouting experiences several weeks ago, I had quite a career in scouting. I became an Eagle Scout. I went to the 1964 National Jamboree. I went to Philmont. I even went to the 1967 World Jamboree, which was in Idaho. Now, my family didn't have money to engage in these kinds of activities, and neither did anyone else in our small town. So what our troop did was to raise money so we could participate in all these activities. And we would sell popcorn balls and brownies at bake sales, and we sold tickets for spaghetti dinners on Friday night and pancake breakfasts on Saturday morning and enchilada dinners on Friday nights at the local church that sponsored our organization. And the church would provide the venue, the church would buy the food, the church ladies would cook the food, our parents would serve the food, and we Boy Scouts would sell the tickets, set up and clean up after each of these fundraising events, and that's how I got to participate in these activities. Now, I grew up in the age of Sputnik, in the shadow of White Sands Missile Range, Holloman Air Force Base, where you had the Monkey Lab and the high-altitude balloons and the fastest man on Earth, and Sacramento Peak Observatory. And everything was about science. And so when I thought about what I wanted to do when I grew up, I wanted to be a physicist. And I went off to college, I studied physics and math, and I was on my way to graduate school when I asked one of my professors for a letter of recommendation. And he sat me down and he told me, there are no jobs for physicists or mathematicians anywhere, and there's no prospect of your being able to get a job anytime in the near future. So if you want to go to graduate school, go ahead, but you need to find a way to make a living, and you may end up selling shoes. Well, I thought about that, and I took his advice, and I applied to law school. And so I ended up at NYU. But after 3 years of being on the East Coast, I'd had enough of the East Coast and decided I wanted to come back to the West. So I accepted a job in Dallas as a patent attorney, and for the last 46 years, I've practiced patent, trademark, and copyright law here in Dallas, most recently with the Thompson & Knight firm, now Holland & Knight. I met my wife at the first law firm where I worked, where she was a paralegal, and we got married in 1980. We have 2 grown children, finally educated, who live in Lakewood, and we have 2 wonderful grandchildren. So why am I in Rotary? I think a lot of the credit goes to Tom Swift and his relentless recruiting efforts. Tom invited me to come many times as a guest, and when I finally did come, I was very impressed with the people here that I met, with the mission of this organization, and with the activities that you're engaged in, and the values that are reflected in the 4-way test, which are my values. So I look forward to being a part of this organization, and I'm almost finished with the blue badge requirements, and I look forward to being a permanent member. Thanks.
Great job, Herb. Now, Mr. Stan Wright is going to tell us about our North Texas Food Bank Packing Day coming up on April 2nd.
Thank you, President Happy. Good afternoon. How's everybody? How many people have volunteered, not this time, but have worked out at that North Texas Food Bank? They're on that packing day. We had a lot of fun, didn't we? Well, we've had, to update you, we've had about 16 people as of yesterday sign up. So I only have 40 slots that they would give me. So if you snooze, you lose. You're going to miss out on a good time if you don't go volunteer. And like I told you before, you can bring kids at 12 years and older. You can bring your wives, your boyfriends, your girlfriends, your crazy cousin Eddie, if you want to get him out of the house, whatever. I'll take anybody. So anyway, it's 2 weeks from tomorrow. So I sent out last night a blast to everybody how you can sign up. And if you have a problem signing up, don't hesitate not to call me. So I'm kidding. Call me, and I will turn you on to somebody from the food bank that can help you sign up. That different people are having a problem. So anyway, but they've got signed up. Thank you. Happy just asked what we're going to be doing. I never know what we're going to be doing, but it's definitely always worthwhile. The last 2 times we had a lot of fun packing bags for kids that they give out in the school districts to take home over the weekend because they don't have enough food to eat over the weekend. So it's unbelievable the good that North Texas Food Bank does in all these different variety of things. So I never know what we're gonna get. We've done several things out there, but that is one of the funnest things to do. But anyway, yeah, thanks, Happy.
Looking for Vivi. Yeah, okay. So now we have Paul Pyrock, who's going to do our membership minute.
Thank you, President Happy. Now, if anybody's paying attention or counting, they're going to realize this is the second time I've done a membership minute. Now, when Happy asked me to do this yesterday, I started wondering, is this a repeat, an encore performance, or is she giving me an opportunity to do it right for once? I'm not really sure. But the last time I was up here for my membership minute, I talked about all the friends I'd made in the club, and that was the most important thing to me. So I sort of needed to think about, well, what else have I gotten out of this club in the 12 years that I've been a member here? And I really came to realize I've learned a lot by being a member of this club. I've learned a lot from the great speakers that we've had. A couple things come to mind. Chip Robertson, a couple different times he's been here. One of the things that he always says is figure out the why. And I've probably driven my wife crazy with this, but when she says she wants to do something, my first question is always why. Maybe I need to phrase that a little differently. But the other thing that Chip said was that a committee was a cul-de-sac that good ideas were lured into to be killed. And I don't know if you noticed it, but the year that I was president, I tried to get us away from having committees to having teams. So, you know, I have had some great opportunities to lead some great teams in this club. I was able to lead the parade efforts in 12, 13, and 14. I learned a lot from that. I had the opportunity to be your president in 18 and 19, and I have to say that's one of the great experiences of my life, and I actually miss it. It was so much fun. Since then, I've been working with Cleve Clinton very closely on the Legacy of Leadership program, and we're in our 4th iteration now. And every time I've participated, I've learned something there, and I've grown there. And it's really become a program about servant leadership, which I think is one of the most important things in my life. And a little plug here, if you haven't done Legacy of Leadership, you need to do it. It's an awesome program. People give an awful lot of their time to make it work. So I have to say that being a member of this club has helped me in my personal and professional life way more than I would have thought it would, and it's really helped me grow as a person. So thank you very much for all the opportunities this club has given to me.
Thank you, Past President Paul. Great job, as always. And so, have you seen the new caps? They're fabulous. So you'll want to get your cap for the parade. We can also wear it at the North Texas Food Bank Packing Day. They're $20. We also need people to help us get these distributed and picked up, paid for, before and after the meeting. So let us know if you'd like to help us with that. Thank you. And now, Past President Richard Stanford is going to introduce our fabulous speaker today.
And one word before that about program. You received an email a while back that on March 28th, that evening, we're going to have our program meeting, pizza and cold drinks. It's a fun time. So if you haven't replied, reply if you can come, because I need to know how much pizza to bring. It's really fun. And now it's my privilege to introduce Curt Hazelbaker. Curt was actually asked to come by Daniel Drabinski. I hope Daniel's watching the stream today. I told him in the email, Daniel, you're such a good dad. He's with his family doing something on spring break, but Curt is actually the CEO and president of the YMCA of Metropolitan Dallas, the whole banana, and the whole enchilada, whatever, the whole thing. But he's a Dallas boy. I mean, he came from Dallas. He has been a while before he came back here. He was 14 years or so as a senior executive in the YMCA in North Carolina, in the North Carolina area, and then came back here about 5 years ago to be CEO of Metropolitan Y of Dallas. He's a graduate of UT Dallas and also has a degree in a certificate in nonprofit management from Duke University. Now, the most endearing thing about his biography is being a Dallas boy and having risen so in the ranks of the YMCA, having served on national boards and agencies of various sorts of the Y. His first exposure to the YMCA here in Dallas was in 1983 when he was a day camp counselor. And that's how he started in the YMCA. So please welcome Curt Hazelbaker.
Good afternoon, everybody. The president introduced me as a fabulous speaker, so hopefully I don't disappoint with that. So I just appreciate the opportunity to be here with you all today. I'm going to start you out a little bit differently when I speak. I've got a test for you. Okay, so this is the interactive part to get things going. How many of you learned to swim at the YMCA? There we go. How many of you been to Camp Grady Spruce? All right, that's terrific. All right, when was the YMCA founded? And if the second part of that is, where was it founded? England, long time ago. We'll take that. London, England, 1844. It was a Bible study. 12 young men did not like where society was going with the Industrial Revolution. So a guy named George Williams, who was later knighted by the king, started the YMCA. So London, 1844, got across the pond to North America in 1851, Montreal in November of 1851. First Y in the U.S. was in Boston in 1851. When do you think it got to Dallas? 1885. Okay. All right. So for this group, when did it get to the Park Cities? 1944. Somebody was close. Somebody said 36. It's fun being up here looking at the faces while the machinations are going through the mind. When was that? Where did it start? So we've been around for a while. We've been around for a long time doing a lot of different things. One of the strengths of the Ys and the beauty of the Y is we adapt to what the needs are of the community. So you prayed earlier when you opened it up talking about Ukraine. There are Ys in Ukraine. I took 5 trips to the Y in Ukraine, 2010 to 2015. So a lot of what you're seeing on TV in the different cities, Lviv, Kharkiv, Kiev, I've been to all of those and seeing what the Y is doing over there. It's really fascinating what takes place. So the Y meets the needs of the communities in many different ways. So I want to talk to you about really 5 different areas today to give you an update of what's taken place and really where we have come from, and come from with the pandemic to where we are at today. So the topics I want to talk about: pre-pandemic, the impact of the pandemic, how we've come out of the pandemic, the impact the economy is doing to the YMCA and to others, and then really the resiliency of the Y. I want to talk to you all about that as well. So pre-pandemic, we had big plans for 2020. We had a lot going on. We had broke ground on a $9 million renovation expansion of our Lake Highlands YMCA. That's on Greenville Avenue between Royal and Forest. Broke ground on that. We had a brand new strategic plan. Our board was set to approve a $120 million comprehensive campaign. We got the results of a feasibility study in January of 2020, and the board was going to see it March 26th, 2020. So that didn't happen with what took place. At the time, we employed 2,500 people. 285 of those were full-time. We had 21 locations. We were projecting operating revenue that's in 2020 of $67 million. And we have been growing at a clip of about 5 to 7% year over year since 2015. So we were in high cotton going into 2020. Well, that all changed, obviously, with the pandemic, changed everything for everybody. And that momentum came to a stop. We got the order from the judge March 16th. We had to close the next day. So we closed March 17th. March 16th was a Monday night. March 17th was a Tuesday, the first day closed. But we couldn't close. We closed our buildings, but when you think about the community still had to function. At the time, we had about 4,000 kids in our after-school program at over 100 schools. Parents still had to work. Healthcare workers, logistics workers, people still had to work, so they had a need for child care. So we started emergency child care that Monday when after we ordered to close. We did it initially at 11 Ys. As need played out, we ended up with about 6. With about 400 kids a day, we were watching for parents who had to be at work. We did that. We started giving away food. Our Park South YMCA in South Dallas, we knew there were needs for food, particularly in South Dallas. We started that Saturday after we closed, and to date, we've given over 500,000 pounds of food away through that one location. 55,000 diapers, 2,200 school packs we've given away, 450 computers, and we've held over 60 blood drives within the YMCAs. So the needs, we were doing a little bit of that, and the pandemic hits, there was a need, we really need to step that up. And so we started doing more of that, and the community embraced it. It was great to see the support that we got through doing that work. You know, I think, from my seat I look at it, I think the Y had a good name and a good reputation going into the pandemic. I think it really got improved and magnified during the pandemic, and I think coming out of it, we've done well to really set the groundwork for what's taking place and where we're going forward. Operationally, that pandemic hit the Y hard. We went from 21 locations to 18. We closed 3 of our Ys. We closed our Y in Irving, we closed a Y in West Dallas, and we closed one of our Ys in southern sector in southern Dallas. Our operating revenue went from a projected $67 million to $39 million in the blink of an eye overnight. Full-time staff, when the pandemic hit, we furloughed all of our part-time people, which, again, was about 2,300 people, and our full-time count dropped from 285 to 140. So you can see the impact that had on us. Now, the Y is a little bit different from other nonprofits. When you look at our revenue, when I tell you those numbers, 67 million, 38 million, 39 million, 85% of our revenue is earned. And when I say earned, that's either membership dues or it's program fees. So if you're playing sports, you're taking swim lessons, you were in adventure guides, you went to Camp Grady Spruce, people can choose whether they're not going to participate with us or not participate with us. So 85% of that is earned, 15% of it's contributed. So when we take that hit, that inflow of revenue stopped or dramatically decreased with the pandemics. So it hit us hard when that took place. Now with all of that, when I said how the Y stepped up, we were fortunate at the end of 2020 to get a $10 million gift from Mackenzie Scott. This came out of the blue. This is truly manna from heaven. I got a email in November of 2020 and said, I represent a philanthropist who wants to make a gift to the Y. I will tell you, I get notes all the time from somebody who has something for us, and it's usually a deal. If you give me access to your membership base, I'll give you 10% of whatever it is we're trying to sell your membership base. So I get this email, we're trying to figure out what it's about. We set the call. It's on Tuesday, I think it was Tuesday, December 10th. And so the lady the lady calls and says, I represent a philanthropist who wants to make this gift to you. So I have no idea on the gift. She goes, do you know the name Mackenzie Scott? And I said, no, I don't know who Mackenzie Scott is. And I'd ask you, some of you probably know who she is now, but a year and a half ago, nobody really knew who she was. And so she goes, Google Mackenzie Scott. Okay. So I'm on the phone with her, Google Mackenzie Scott. Well, first thing that pops up, she's Jeff Bezos' ex-wife. So that's Amazon, all right? Okay, see that. And then the next thing I see is that in July of 2020, she gave away $1.8 billion to 400 charities. So now I know who Mackenzie Scott is. And she says she'd like to make a gift to the Dallas Y. I said, well, does she have ties in Dallas? No. Does she have ties to the Y? No. But she's been studying the work that you do, and she wants to make a gift to your Y. I said, okay. She says, then that gift is $10 million. And, I had that reaction. But it came with a couple of catches. I couldn't tell anybody. We couldn't go back to ask her for any more money, and we had to do a report every year for 3 years. What did you do with the money? But you could use the money however you wanted. There was no strings attached to say, some of the gifts that we get say, well, you need to spend it on college scholarships or after school care or one of the camps. This had no strings attached. So I said, well, I got to tell a couple of people because one, I don't know how to wire money to the Y. I need to ask the CFO. I need to tell our treasurer, our finance chair that, he's going to look at the balance sheet and say, how'd you get $10 million? And then I needed to tell our board chair so that she knew what was coming on. So I called all three of them and said, okay, this is what's coming. The first thing they said, everyone to a T, is this legit? Because everybody has that reaction. Is this not the Nigerian email? You send them $100 grand and they're going to send you 10 million. I said, when you find out this name, you're going to see it's legit. So that call was on a Tuesday. We had $10 million in the bank the following Monday. So she has been phenomenal. She has given away all kinds of money. She's had 3 more tranches where she's given away billions of dollars to support organizations. So everything's going on, everything's going south in 2020, and the end of the year we get the call that just made the year. And so to be able to tell staff and volunteers everything we have been through, somebody from the outside recognizes it and says, you're doing good work, here's $10 million and use that to do good work. So manna from heaven it was. We took that money and we're trying, where we're going to invest it. We took, you talked about your foundation, we took $2.5 million, ultimately $2.5 million and put it into our endowment. We have a separate endowment to use as a match, to use as a one-to-one match, to say, typically a named fund within our endowment is $25,000. If somebody would give us 12.5, we would match it, and then there would be the Rotary fund or the Hazelbaker fund or whatever it was. We started out with $1.5 million. We matched all that money in 9 weeks, put another $1 million in it, and we now have fully matched all of that. So we went from really nothing to, we had an endowment of about 30 million up to 35, a little over 35 million, and funded a lot of great programs that didn't have a backstop. The Rise School at our Moody Y, some of you are familiar with that, they had no endowment. We had no backstop for that. Well, now there's 2.2 million in endowment to backstop the Rise School. So it's been phenomenal with that. We used money for that. We're going to create a broader and a bigger virtual Y presence. When everything shut down, people went home to exercise, and they were using Facebook and different means to exercise. So we kind of adapted to that. How do we do it better? The third thing, which we think is really pretty cool, is a mobile Y. You know, we're going to have a pickup tow on a trailer with one of them, which will be kind of a gaming, coding, STEM programming, go into Southern Dallas, different areas where we don't have a presence, where kids can come up and learn, how do I code? How do I do some of this stuff? So that's a piece of it. The food I talked about that we've given away, we'll have a box truck that will go into communities and we'll deliver food where it's needed. So it's going to give us the ability to do some different things that we haven't been doing a lot of in the past. So that windfall, we're going to use that going forward. And then the final thing we'll look at is how do we invest into our future? How do we grow the organization? As the community's growing as fast as what it is, how do we grow to where we need to be with some of these new communities? So a neat opportunity with that, to be able to see the results of that. So we're encouraged by that. That was a good lead into what's taken place. So coming out of the pandemic, we've got really a bold vision for a brighter future with this. You know, I said earlier, what we had planned for 2020 was a $120 million campaign to really benefit a lot of different areas. Because of the pandemic hit, we shifted that to a $31 million campaign, predominantly with a Southern Dallas focus. We have 2 Ys in Southern Dallas, our Park South YMCA and our Moreland White Oak Club. Invest to renovate and expand those. Mental health is an area that we're really getting into. We're seeing a lot of that needs really come up, and these are through elementary kids, these are through our teens that we serve, mothers with postpartum depression, we've heard that, senior citizens who've lost a spouse. We really think that's an area of an opportunity that Y should be in, and based on what people have told us, the community thinks we ought to be in it as well. The next bucket is our Safety Around Water, which is our drowning elimination program. This is pretty cool. This is something I'm really proud of. Our Safety Around Water program, we go into apartments. We bring teams of our staff into apartment communities, predominantly Hispanic and African American kids. I would challenge you to do this. During the summer, when you read the morning news, you'll see probably once a week a drowning that's taking place somewhere in our area. A lot of times it's 2 drownings. Kid goes in and an adult goes in to get them, and that adult can't swim. Well, we can do something about that. We've got 18 pools in our system. We've got staff who are equipped with this. So with the Safety Around Water program, what we do is we go into the apartments, communities during the summer. Last summer it was about 2,800 kids we served. Spend a week with them to tell them what to do if they fall in the water. And basically we're teaching them, you fall in the water, get on your back, get to the side. These kids aren't going to be Michael Phelps in that week, but if they fall in the water, they've got a life-saving skill that's going to benefit them from here on out. We give the kids free swimsuits. It's been neat to see what that does. And the intent with this, with our program, is it will become a year-round program. DISD is going to bus some of their kids to a couple of our branches. We'll teach the program to them during the school year. We can touch more kids that way. So excited about that. That's one of the things with the future coming up. So that $31 million campaign that we're in the quiet phase. To date, we've raised $19 million. You don't know that we're doing a campaign, so the community's really stepped up to say, we believe in you, we're going to support you. $3 million gift a couple of weeks ago and a couple of $1 million gifts we've received so far. So we're feeling good about what the community thinks of the work that we're doing. So that's looking ahead. The economy, I want to talk about that for a minute, just the impact of the economy. Like you and your businesses, the economy is probably, what's going on right now with inflation and other things is probably hitting you as hard as it's hitting the Y. With us, it's hitting us really in a couple of different areas I want to highlight. Staffing, finding and retaining people. If you're hiring right now, anybody, it's hard to find folks that you can get to come work for you. And we're no different at the Y. Our part-time staff, we over the last 18 months, our minimum pay we pay on the hourly rate, we bumped it up 4 times. So we're $12 an hour now for our part-time people coming to us. We're in a wage war to keep some of our full-time people. Our full-time people are getting picked off by school systems, other competitors, and then companies who see how well we train our staff and who we hire. They're pulling some of our people off our front lines to say, you're great at customer service. I need you to do that for us. So we've seen that a little bit. So that's played into it. So that's one area where inflation's hit us. You know, I mentioned earlier our Lake Highlands Y. That was a $9 million project. We had broke ground in 2020. Well, that $9 million project, same project, is now $10.7 million. In that time frame, normally it's a 12 to 14 month build. Now it's a 14 to 16 month build. So getting steel, getting concrete, getting roofing materials, it's taking time. So that's played into it as well. So we're seeing that also. And then one other thing I'll share with you, new fitness equipment. How many of you are members of the Y or have been members of our Ys? So you like the equipment, and we update that. The cardio equipment's changed out every 3 years. So if you get a treadmill now, in 3 years you're going to get a new treadmill. Well, we order that equipment in September. Normally we have it by December. Our delivery time now is next month for what we ordered in September. Our strength equipment, the weights and all that, I talked to one of our vendors. We buy those in product lines. One of our vendors said we have 6 full lines in the United States right now. That's it. They're going to be gone. They're committed to in June. So they're asking us, when are you going to need something? Because we're not going to have it. So those are some of the realities that we're facing from the economy standpoint. I'm not complaining because you're dealing with the same thing, but I'm telling you more than anything that the impact that you're seeing the economy with the inflation, that's hitting us as well also. Finally, I'll talk about our future, and then I can take some questions that you've got. I was on a panel yesterday with Y leaders from around the country, and I got asked, why are you bullish on the Y? Why are you bullish on the resiliency and the future of the Y? And you know, when I think about that, we're growing again. We're growing again, and it's pretty rapid to see where that growth is going. I told our staff when this thing hit in 2020 that it's going to take us probably 4 to 5 years to get back to where we were at before the pandemic hit. And we're tracking there. I hope I'm wrong, but right now we're seeing that's what it looks like. Our camps, our swimming programs, our after-school child care, and youth sports are all ahead of where they were pre-pandemic. So what we've seen, parents are ready to get their kids out. You know, they've been locked up. We're teaching them, we're homeschooling them. Get them out, and you take them. And it's worked out great to see those kids come back to us. Our members are returning. Pre-pandemic, we had 34,000 household members. So that's a household. A household may have 2 people, 5 people, 6 people. There's about 72,000 people in those 34,000 households. We got down to 19,000 households in September of 2020. We're at 24,000 households now, and it's continuing to grow. We're ticking away with that. Employment is back to about 1,800. Full-time staff's at 187, so we're getting people back to help. Revenue went from $67 million to $39 million in 2020. It hit $44 million last year. It's budgeted for $55 million this year. So again, that's coming back. We're seeing that. And then our focus on Southern Dallas with, excuse me, and eliminating childhood drowning and increasing the awareness of mental health initiatives and how the Y can play a role in that seems to be resonating with the people that we talk to in our donor community. So we're excited about that. So with all of that, I think that the Y is locally, nationally, and internationally is really positioned well going forward. So that's why I'm bullish on where we're going to go. Last thing I'll share with it, I want to go back to Ukraine because you started out talking about Ukraine. When you travel to different parts of the world, the Ys look very different than what they do here. Here in the United States, and Canada for that matter, very facility-based. People know the Y. They drove by the Moody YMCA. They see that big building, or T. Boone Pickens or Simonis. Overseas in different parts of the world, Ys really don't own buildings. They do programming wherever the needs are. So in Ukraine, when I was over there, they program at schools, they program at parks, churches. One Y in Kharkiv did programming at an old helicopter factory, and that programming looks different. It's camping. They do a program called Tensing, which is kind of an arts and crafts, dancing. That's a piece of what they do. HIV/AIDS prevention is another piece that they do. A little bit of youth sports. Their entire full-time staff in Ukraine is 4 people. They own one asset, one building. Everything else is volunteer-led. Their CEO is a guy named Viktor Serbalov. Viktor is, he was an attorney by trade and then left to go work for the Y. And Viktor, I was on a Zoom call with him a week and a half ago, and he said during the call, all my life I've helped people. I never thought I would be a refugee. Victor's in Poland right now. He had to get out. He took his wife and his daughter out of the country. The numbers you said earlier, Viktor told me yesterday, was 2.5 million people who have left Ukraine to this point to go to other countries, and it's 1.5 million of, they call them internally displaced, people who have been moving around different parts of Ukraine. So the Y's work right now is really humanitarian need, getting food to people who need it, safety to people who need it, and getting people the resources that they can't get access to right now. So you talked about that earlier. I wanted to share that with you and encourage you to pray for them. They're dealing with things that we can't imagine. When you see on the news, there are subway stations that are now shelters. First time I went down in one of those, I couldn't believe how deep it was. I mean, you take an escalator, it seems like you're going down forever. And now you see on the news why they need that when they're getting bombed like that. So it's a whole different experience what's over there. So with that, I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you today. It's always nice to share the story of the Y, and those of you that know us, and appreciate your involvement with us. If we've got time, I'll take some questions. Richard, with that?
I'll take the mic. Questions?
Well, thank you, Curt. The Y and the Rotary Club share a lot of the same values, and we are fortunate we have an RCPC foundation, and we've been able to fund your Safety Around Water program in the past. And it's great to have that. We've got quite a few members. I know Daniel and Jen that are real involved with the Moody Y, so it's a great partnership.
Well, thank you. Nick Echtenkamp was supposed to be here today. One of his kids has the flu, stomach flu, which Nick got last night. So he was going to be here.
All right, got one.
So your $10 million, you said one of the conditions was not revealing who it was from, and you revealed that to us, so I assume you got out of that condition?
We got out of that, yeah.
Your lawyer is asking.
The lawyer, thank you. We could announce when they announced. So she announced end of December, I think is when she put it out, and then that's when we went public with it. So I'm glad the attorney caught me on that one.
Are you still in the hotel business?
No. Good question. For the Y, for many years, was in the hotel business. We are not here, but there are parts of the country where it's still a big piece of what they do. New York City, Philadelphia, Boston, a lot of Ys in the Northeast. You can still get a room at the Y. New York, the city itself has 2,200 hotel rooms that they operate. My daughter, when she turned 13, we went to New York, and I tried to see if I could get a room at the Y. They were booked. So that she's 27 now. That was 14 years ago. But it's still a piece of different Ys around the country that do that.
Okay. Other questions? Yeah. Bill. Here you go, Bill. Did you work out? It's the only workout I get, even though I'm a member of the Y. And should be working out.
Come and see us, Richard.
So I grew up thinking Young Men's Christian Association. So I'm way behind on the news. I think y'all are called Y now, not YMs. The emphasis is no longer on the M and the C. Am I right about that?
Well, in 2010, we went through a branding exercise, and if you look at our logo, it says the Y, and then it says YMCA below that Y. The branding, what the branding told us is that people, when you ask people about it, they said, I'm going to the Y, or my kids are in the Y. They didn't say the YMCA. Excuse me. So we took that and said, all right, if that's what we're known as, let's go with the Y. Now, when you look at the Young Men's Christian Association, we don't serve just young. When you look at some of the folks in here, oh, you're young at heart, you're a little bit older. So we don't serve just young, we don't serve just men. We employ more women, and we have more women that are members than we do men. Christian, we emphasize, Christian's still part of what we do. Most of our meetings will start out with a prayer, but we serve all. The last two words of our mission statement are for all. And if you walk into our buildings, that's one of the neat things is the different demographics, different populations that are coming through our doors. So as the community adapts, Christian's still a big piece of what we do, but we serve all faiths. Everybody's welcome at the Y. About the only thing in that YMCA is association. We're still an association, but that's a part of what we do. So I'm glad that you asked that. It is neat to see. When Richard read my bio, I was in Dallas until 2003, and I was based at the Coppell YMCA. I was executive director there. Well, if you were in Coppell in 2003, it was probably 90% white, and then 5%, the rest 10% Hispanic or black. We recently moved our corporate offices to Coppell. Coppell's school district is more than 50% Indian and Asian. And boy, you talk about a community that shifted, and you see that in our Y. And that's one of the neat things from a diversity standpoint. We're serving it a little bit differently than what we used to, because the community needs are a little bit different than what they were. But we adapt to the needs of what the community is. And I think that's one of our strengths that allows us to be able to do that.
You mentioned the Rise School at the Moody YMCA Y. And I was part of the water aerobics program there for a few years. And one of the things that I noticed is that a lot of people who grew up in the Rise School program are now serving the Y as employees and or volunteers.
Yep.
And that was really evident to me as I was there a couple of days a week that they were taking what had been done for them so that they could give it back.
Yeah, well, and we love that. We love to see that, and that's part of what we do. The Rise School, a little bit about that if you're not familiar with it. Rise School, the Moody Y, there's 60 kids in the school, and they're traditional learners with kids who might have Down syndrome or other disabilities. And the goal of the program is to integrate the kids together. So 60 kids, 5 classrooms. We do, we educate the kids. There's physical therapy, occupational therapy. They do music therapy. It's a wonderful program that takes place within there. Brings the whole community together. When you look at where those kids are coming from, they're anywhere on the map. Grand Prairie, Prosper, Rockwall, coming together with that. So it does phenomenal work that a lot of people don't know that takes place at the Moody Y. So if you come in, if you know the Moody Y, there's front desk, then there's a hallway, and that's where the school is. 100 kids are on the waiting list. 60 kids in the school, 100 kids on the waiting list. We'd love to have a second Rise School, but it's, when all the teachers are master certified, it's expensive to operate. So our goal long-term is to get a second school.
John's got one more question, then we're going to take Jeff, and that will be it. I think we're going to run out of time. A lot of questions.
How do you screen for pedophiles?
Okay. Good question. We have a pretty extensive screening and application process. There's a couple of different tools that we used to background checks, criminal background checks. The Y was instrumental with some other nonprofits working with the FBI to get nationwide background checks. Before, you used to be able to just do your state background check. And that would limit you, because if somebody came in and gave you a different name or gave you the name they had in Texas, you couldn't do a nationwide. Well, now with this nationwide, we can check background checks for everywhere. So we do a lot of work on that. There's a lot of training that goes into that. All full-time staff have to take that training. I take the training all the way down to that person who's working 3-4 hours a week. So keeping kids safe is the most important. Keeping everybody safe is the most important thing that we do.
Curt, I have a question. It's more organizational, but what is the, and this, I don't know, Bill's question, but the YMCA and the YWCA, what is the association, or is historically, and what was it, if there was?
Separate organizations, two completely different entities. The YW started after the YMCA. The YWCA, I don't think their presence is very big here. In different parts of the country, it's bigger. When I was in Winston-Salem, we worked quite a bit with the YWCA. We don't really do anything with them, and there's really not an affiliation here. It's not animosity or anything like that. We just don't work with them. So, thank you for the opportunity. Appreciate being here.
Thank you so much for a great presentation. So I learned to swim at the YWCA. Does that count?
Sure. It's the Y.
Great. Thank you so much. A book is being placed at your honor at McShan Elementary.
Well, thank you. That's terrific.
Thank you so much. Please come back. We'd love to have you in the club.
Okay. Thank you.
If you're a new member, if you joined this year and you did not get a straw hat, please see Laurie to get your new white cap for the parade and our events. Next week's speaker is going to be J.D. TRUEBLOOD, the CEO of the Turtle Creek Association. He's going to be talking about the new Turtle Creek corridor. Richard Stanford is our chair of the day, and he always brings fabulous programs. That's going to be really terrific. And Tom Swift is going to lead us in the four-way test. If you'll please rise.
Thank you, President Happy. Before I do that, in the spirit of Rotary, I thought we'd have an auction, and it's come into my possession. Looks like an iPhone 13. Based on the cover, I would say it's female-owned. Is that yours? Okay, how much would you like to bid for your phone? All right. I tried, right? We're always trying. So the four-way test is an ethical guide for Rotarians to use for their personal and professional relationships. The test has been translated into more than 100 languages, and Rotarians recite it at club meetings. In honor of my grandmother, I'd like us to do it today in Danish. Could we? Maybe not. Please recite it with me. Of the things we think, say, or do, first, is it the truth? Second, is it fair to all concerned? Third, will it build goodwill and better friendships? Fourth, will it be beneficial to all concerned? Let's get out of here.
Have a great weekend.